So yeah, welcome. Okay, so the notification it's we're now being live streamed. Do I need to pin something? I don't know if I need to like. I'm not sure
I've already pinned you.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Okay. So yeah, before we start, we'll just offer some prayers. In prayers for to respect and to understand what we're going to talk about today. Om Jnana-timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Siddhantotpal Sarinityarasikam Hangsam Vilasatmakam Audaryakya Siddham Sevakatanam Vishramba Bhakti Pradam Yachna Yukti Vichakshanam Takavidu Vaishishta Shaktya Sada Vandeham Tripurari Namakayatim Shri Bhakti Vedantinam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Swami Shri Bhakti Vedanta Prabhupadaya Te Namaha Gurvagyam Shirasi Dritva Shaktya Vesha Swarupine Hare Krishna Timantrena Paschatya Prachatarine Vishvacharya Prabharyaya Divya Karunya Murtaye Shri Bhagavata Madhurya Gita Jnana Pradayane Gaura Shri Rupa Siddhanta Saraswati Nishevine Radha Krishna Padam Bhoja Bhringaya Gurave Namaha Devam Divyatanam Suchanda Vadanam Balarka Chelanchitam Sandrananda Purang Sareka Varanam Vairagya Vidam Buddhim Shri Siddhanta Nidhim Subhakti Lasitam Sarasvatanam Varam Vande Tang Shubhatam Adeka Sharanam Yashishwaram Shri Dharam Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Ajinulambita Pujo Kanakavadato Sankirtanaika Pitaro Kamalaya Taksho Vishvambharo Dvijavaro Yugadharma Palo Vande Jagat Priyakaro Karunavataro Vande Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Sahodito Gododaye Pushpavanto Chitro Shando Tamonito Vandeham Shri Rama Krishna Apaya Charana Sukho Sukhado Paramanando Sundaro Subala Priyo He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Brindabaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Shri Gaudiya Vaishnava Guru Parampara Ki Jai Shri Gurudev Ki Jai So yeah, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us today. Very auspicious and holy day. So I thought, since I knew in advance that I would be speaking on this particular day, I thought let's try to say something about Gadādhara Pandit. But I don't really feel particularly qualified, but I'm just going to try to share what our teachers have said, and things that I've just trying to adjust the screen a bit. Things that I've come across that our own Guru Maharaj has said, and other acharyas. Sorry, position of the screen isn't very good. Anyway, hopefully it will figure itself out. Hopefully it's okay. Anyway, so today is the appearance of Sri Gadādhara Pandit, and we want to try to say something about him, to glorify him, and just to try to understand something about this very great personality that is quite unfathomable. Our Guru Maharaj says that he's perhaps the most difficult to understand of the members of the Panchatattva. So you all here on this call, you already know, but just for the wider audience in the future, just I'm sure most of you know already that Gadādhara Pandit appeared about the same time as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he is the personification of one of the five truths about God, known as the Panchatattva. In the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, in the Adi Leela 7th chapter, there's this beautiful verse that we find, which is offering respects to these 5 members of the Panchatattva. This Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam. And this means, let me offer my obeisances unto Lord Sri Krishna, who has manifested himself in 5 as a devotee, expansion of a devotee, incarnation of a devotee, a pure devotee, and devotional energy. And devotional energy. So of these 5 that are mentioned, the first 3, Mahaprabhu as a devotee, Nityananda Prabhu as the expansion of a devotee, and Advaita Acharya as the incarnation or avatar of a devotee. So these 3 are considered the Prabhus, or the masters, in the sense that they're all Vishnu Tattva. And then next, it's mentioned offering respect to Bhaktakyam, the pure devotee. So that is Srivas Thakur, and he's representing the Jiva Shakti, or Tatashta Shakti. Srivas, he shows all that we can become, as our Guru Maharaj often says, the capacity to be divine when we take shelter of the spiritual energy. So like Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita in the 9th chapter, Mahatmanas tumam partha daivim prakritim ashrittaha. O son of Pritha, those who are not deluded, the great souls, are under the protection of the divine nature. So this is Srivas, he's under that protection, and he's showing us, what is the possibility for us. Like our Guru Maharaj, he says that Srivas represents to us all the possibilities of the Jiva to live under the Swarup Shakti. So then lastly, in this verse, we offer respects to Bhakta Shaktikam. Bhakta Shaktikam, the personification of Krishna's internal energy. The energy of love itself, who is Srimati Radharani, and who appears in the Panchatattva as Sri Gadādhara Pandit. So looking into the tattva of Gadādhara Pandit is not exactly easy, as we mentioned, that Guru Maharaj says that it's very difficult to fathom Gadādhara Pandit, and I think also that it is. But in Guru Maharaj's book, this sacred preface, he says in this last chapter, when he talks about Gadādhara Pandit, he says like why it is so difficult to understand, because he says like, so if Gauranga, if he is Radha and Krishna combined, how can Gadādhara also be Radha? And obviously it is known in our tradition that Mahaprabhu is Radha and Krishna combined. It's there in the Shastra. So many of our acharyas have explained more on it. The line that always comes to my mind is from this very nice song of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada, this Sri Guru Parampara song, when he sings Mahaprabhu Sri Chaitanya Radha Krishna Nahe Anya. That Mahaprabhu Sri Chaitanya is non-different from Sri Radha and Krishna. So we have heard this, and also it can also be argued that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu even becomes more Radha than he is Krishna. So in answer to the question of how can Gadādhara Pandit be Radha when Mahaprabhu is, our Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhaktivedanta Tripurari Swami, he says that the answer is that he can and he cannot. So today we're hoping to explore that a bit more, to see how he is Radha, but also how he can't be. And by this, we may see what an extraordinarily important person Gadādhara is amongst the associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and as Krishna's other half. So Gadādhara Pandit, he was born in Bangladesh and he moved to Navadvip at a very young age. And it said that his mother, Ratnavati, that she was very good friends with Sachi Mata. And we know that Gaura and Gadādhara, that from their childhood, that they were close, they were good friends ever since they were young. And we hear from the Chaitanya Bhagavat and Chaitanya Charitamrita how Gadādhara was always very attached to Nimai. One very interesting point about the appearance of these two, of Gaura and Gadādhara, there's a nice point that's brought out by Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj, and it reflects the nature of the philosophical truth of these avatars. So this is kind of how Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj explains it, that he says that both Radha and Krishna, they both appeared in the middle of the lunar period. So for example, Radharani, she appeared on the Ashtami, the 8th day in the bright fortnight, like kind of in the middle between the new moon and the full moon. And Krishna also appeared on the Ashtami, on the 8th day of the dark fortnight. And he says that these two combined makes the full moon. So this is why Mahaprabhu appeared on the full moon. But as Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj says, that he says Gadādhara appeared under the blackest night, or in other words, the Amavasya, or the sometimes called the new moon day today, or sometimes it's also called the day of no moon, because you don't see the moon on this day. So it really is. So when Sridhar Maharaj is saying that the blackest night, in terms of all the days of the month, this would be the darkest night. So Sridhar Maharaj, he says that this symbolizes the fact that Mahaprabhu, he took the entirety of the internal wealth from Gadādhara, and hence he appeared on that day of no moon, on that dark day. And also not only his appearance day, but also his disappearance day was also on the Amavasya, like a different Amavasya. I think this year it's in June. But so it's kind of, when you hear it like that Mahaprabhu has taken all the internal wealth of Gadādhara, it sounds like something very sad. But as we'll see, it only serves to glorify Srimati Radharani even more. There is a beautiful part in the book called The Golden Volcano of Divine Love, of Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj. And it's a part in, I think it's a chapter, it's called The Tragedy of Separation. And in this chapter, Sridhar Maharaj, he describes Radha's protection of Krishna, in his attempt to feel what she does. It's said like sugar is sweet, but it cannot taste itself. So there has to be a taster. It needs a taster. So Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj, he says, so this is from his book. He says, Krishna wanted to have some experience of why Radharani is so mad for him. He thought, what is there in me that makes her so immeasurably mad for me? What sweetness can she draw from me? I can't ascertain it. He wanted to mold himself in the mood of Sri Radhika and try to taste his own self from that temperament. So he came as Sri Chaitanya. When he conceived of such an incarnation and proposed his idea to Srimati Radharani, we are told that Radharani, on her part, said, "Sometimes you will madly roll on the earth, taking my name, but I won't be able to tolerate it. I shall cover your body with my golden form. I won't allow you to roll on the earth. I shall cover you with my embrace." So it is said by those who know the ontological aspect of Sri Chaitanya Dev, "I offer my respects to Sri Chaitanya Dev, whose mood and color is Radharani's, and whose inner self is Krishna, searching for himself, tasting himself, and trying to understand why Radharani is mad to taste him, and what sort of sweetness she finds in him. Radha bhava dyuti suvalitam nomi Krishna swarupam." That's the end of the quote from the Golden Volcano. But that last quote that he put in, this is a part of a verse from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, this Radha bhava dyuti suvalitam nomi Krishna swarupam. And that means I bow down to him who has manifested himself with the sentiment and complexion of Srimati Radharani, although he is Krishna himself. So we can see that this endeavor of Krishna, it's sanctioned and allowed by Radharani herself. But by covering Krishna, sorry, my camera's being weird. I just saw it's going back. Anyway, it's the iPad. It does like strange things with the camera. It kind of tries to follow you, but then I don't know why it's doing that. Sorry about that. So yeah, what I was saying. So Radharani has sanctioned Krishna's endeavor. She's helping. So when she's covering Krishna in her golden embrace, but this means, we can see that this means many things, and also, by her doing this, it affects the avatar of Gadādhara. It is said, like I think I heard in the class of our Guru Maharaj, that Gadādhara is Radharani in a particular condition relative to the Leela. So Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj, he says that Gaura has taken the entirety of internal wealth from Gadādhara, and that Gadādhara follows Gaura like a shadow, or like someone whose heart has been stolen. He is Radha, but he's also not Radha. As we know from one of Srimati Radharani's transcendental qualities, it's explained in the teachings of Lord Chaitanya that she has 25 transcendental qualities. And one of these qualities is that she always keeps Krishna under her control. And in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, in the Madhya Leela, chapter 14, we hear about differences between different kinds of gopis. So there's one verse that says, a gopi who is always eager to be jealously angered, who is very enthusiastic for that position, who immediately becomes angry when defeated, who is never under the control of a hero, and who always opposes him, is called a Vama, or a left-wing gopi. And in the purport to that, Prabhupada says that this is actually from Rupa Goswami's Ujjwala Nilamani. And in this text, Rupa Goswami also describes the right-wing gopis, or also called Dakshina gopis. So he describes the right-wing lovers who have more of a submissive attitude. So this verse is a gopi who cannot tolerate womanly anger, who speaks suitable words to the hero, and who is satisfied by his sweet words, is called a Dakshina, or a right-wing gopi. So when Radharani gave Krishna her bhav, it included this special characteristic of hers, something that is something bold and dominant and kind of rebellious. And without it, as when Radharani comes as Gadādhara, he has the submissive love of the Dakshina, which this has been compared to Rukmini in Dwarka. And there's a verse in the Chaitanya Charitamrita where Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says this. He says, it's in the Antya Leela, chapter 7, verse 144. Gadādhara Paṇḍitera Shuddhagatha Bhava Rukmini Devira Yaiche Dakshina Swabhava. Gadādhara Pandit's pure ecstatic love for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was also very deep. It was like that of Rukmini Devi, who was always especially submissive to Krishna. So I saved a few quotes here just to expand a bit more on this topic of the mood of Gadādhara. So Sridhar Maharaj, he says that Gadādhara Pandit is Radha Bhav Duti Suvalitam. The entire wealth of Radharani's feelings, her sentiments, mood, and even her luster were taken by Krishna. Radharani voluntarily gave all these things. I can't allow you to roll on the earth with your body. I shall enfold you. That emptiness we find in Gadādhara Pandit. He is running after Mahaprabhu as his shadow, but he is not poor. It is his wealth that has given Mahaprabhu such a dignified position. And this is another bit where Sridhar Maharaj just speaks a little bit more about this Dakshina and Vama. He says, we may look to the outer aspect of Gadādhara. His bhav has been taken, emptied. Rukmini means Dakshina, not Vama. The Vama nature is a little aggressive and fights with the lover. Dakshina tolerates everything, whatever comes, only with a defensive attitude. That is Dakshina. That is the mood of Rukmini. So when Mahaprabhu plunders the spirit of Radharani, the rebellious Vama nature, what remains is comparable to Rukmini, a passive seer, without any power to assert, only an onlooker tolerating everything, a very pitiable condition that elicits kindness and sympathy from everyone. I think we feel that. I often feel it when we hear about Gadādhara, like we feel, oh, it's like sad for Gadādhara, really elicits some sympathy. And there's got a couple of quotes here of our Guru Maharaj as well. He says that Kaviraj Goswami says, in the verse we just read, that Gadādhara's bhav is just like that of Rukmini, Dakshina Naiki. The comparison is made for the purpose of revealing the temperament of Gadādhara. He is Radha with her bhav stolen by Krishna. What is left over is the bhav of a submissive lover that is the opposite of Radha's dominating love, Vamanaiki. Gadādhara is Radha under the surface of this submissive mood. And he is in search of the bhav that Mahaprabhu has stolen. And Guru Maharaj continues, thus the Leela of Mahaprabhu in Puri, which is representative of Dwarka, is imbued with Aishwarya, not found in Nadia. Indeed, this Aishwarya is said to have weighed heavily on Gadādhara Pandit and influenced his bhav. Kaviraj Goswami says of Gadādhara in Puri Dham that because he was influenced by Aishwarya Gyan of Gauranga, he was, as Srila Prabhupada comments further, always submissive. Dakshina Naiki. He could not be angered by Mahaprabhu, even when Mahaprabhu tried to anger him and see the mood of Radha, the Vamanaiki, in him. So it's very interesting to learn this. I found that, it's just not possible for him to be angered or to have that mood because, it's gone. So, so just like Krishna is Swayam Bhagavan, the original personality of God, then Radharani is Swayam Shakti, that she is the, original energy of God. And all Shakti expansions come from her. So for Lord Chaitanya to become Radha and Krishna combined, Radharani has to step back and allow it. When she gives him her bhav, she becomes another form of herself, but one without certain characteristics that she has in her original form as Sri Radha. She is so selflessly loving that she got out of the way for Gaura to be successful in his mission. Our Guru Maharaj, he says that the more Mahaprabhu became Radha, and the more that manifested, then the less Gadādhara was Radha. So, for example, like in the earlier pastimes, when they were in Nadia, excuse me, in their earlier pastimes, Gadādhara was always a Vaishnava. Even when Gaura had not manifested his love for Krishna, then, from the very beginning, Gadādhara was always a devotee. And as a youth, Gaura Hari, he seemed like quite materialistic and proud, although he was very learned. He knew a lot, he was very clever. But Gadādhara, he used to say to him that all of his knowledge was useless because of he's not a devotee, because he's not a devotee of Krishna. So it doesn't. What was the value of his knowledge? And in answer, Mahaprabhu, as Nimai Pandit, used to say to Gadādhara, you just wait, Gadādhara. One day I'll become such a Vaishnava that even Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva will worship me. And Gadādhara would think, oh, and he's arrogant too, as well as a materialist. But I love him. And this is like, I heard this story from our Guru Maharaj, and it's very, very sweet that, Gadādhara was so attached to Nimai that, he's really arrogant, but still, I love him. But when Mahaprabhu, after he went to Gaya, then he became initiated by Ishwara Puri, and he came back and he was actually manifesting his mood as a devotee, and his love for Krishna had awakened. Then, we can't imagine how happy Gadādhara Pandit must have been. He really must have. He wanted so much for Nimai to be a Vaishnava, and it's said that when Nimai Pandit came back to Nadia, then all the townspeople were saying like, Nimai Pandit has become a Vaishnava. Nimai has become a Vaishnava. Like, it was such a big thing. And then there was going to be a kirtan at the house of Shuklambar. And it said that Gadādhara went there, but Gadādhara, he hid himself like in a cupboard, I guess, or like a closet, wardrobe, I don't know, something he was hiding. And from that cupboard, he was seeing all the ecstatic symptoms in Mahaprabhu as he was chanting the holy names. And when everyone had gone, Mahaprabhu could hear someone crying, like uncontrollably, like, weeping and weeping so much he could hear. And he asked, like, who is that? And there he found Gadādhara weeping and weeping, but he was weeping in so much happiness, that his Nimai was manifesting love for Krishna. So it's just, we can't imagine how happy Gadādhara must have been. So already before then, they were already good friends, but then from that point, even closer friends. So it's really, really sweet. And our Guru Maharaj explains that in the earlier pastimes, that Gadādhara was more protective of Gaura at that time. Initially, I guess you could say perhaps a bit more like Radharani, with that mood that, a bit concerned and a bit afraid of what will happen to him if he experiences Radha's love. So there's that nice story when they were young, and when Mahaprabhu was I think he was crying and he was upset, wondering like where is Krishna, where is Krishna, and I think Gadadhara said to him that, you know, Krishna is in your heart, it's okay. And then he started to like scratch, you know, at his chest to try to get his heart, but Gadadhara stopped him and he calmed him down and he pacified him. And then Mother Sachi, she saw this and she asked Gadadhara that he would always stay with her son and watch over him, you know, because she saw how good he was at just, you know, calming Nimai. And indeed, the two of them, they remained fast friends, as Guru Maharaj says, fast friends, like very close friends, their whole lives, for their whole lives. And Gadadhar, he did follow Gauranga just like a shadow. And when Mahaprabhu took sannyas and went to live in Jagannath Puri, then Gadadhar followed him, and he also took sannyas. He took what's called kshetra sannyas, sannyas to, and he made a vow to stay in that place, that kshetra, that field of Jagannath Puri. So he vowed that he would not leave there. But actually, there was a time where Gadadhar he broke that vow because Mahaprabhu was going to go to Vrindavan, and Gadadhar, you know, didn't want to leave him, so he started to follow him. But Mahaprabhu told him no. He told him, you have to go back, don't break your vow. And since Gadadhar did have this submissive mood, you know, that we heard about, this submissive mood of Rukmini, he couldn't say no when Mahaprabhu told him, and all he could do is he was just so sad at this separation that was coming that he lost consciousness and he fainted. And then when he regained consciousness, he went back to Puri, like the Lord had asked him to. So there are so many things that seem quite sad in these leelas. And actually, Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj, he says himself that Gadadhar tolerated injustices his whole life. He calls Gadadhar the predominated moiety of the whole. So although he is Radha, and Radharani, you know, she's the queen of Vrindavan, but actually in as Gadadhar, he's like in a position completely opposite to that. And as Gadadhar, like he couldn't even enter Vrindavan. You know, he wanted to go with Mahaprabhu to Vrindavan, and Mahaprabhu said no. So, but actually, it was actually thanks to Gadadhar Pandit that Mahaprabhu was successful. And although that he was Gadadhar was gradually stepping back to allow Mahaprabhu to experience Radha Bhav, he was always there. Initially in Nadia, protecting him out of concern for what her Bhav will do to him, but then later in a more instructive way. It's because it's said that the Nadia pastimes, you know, they are more intimate and more sweet. But it's also said that the Lord's Leela at Jagannath Puri is like more instructive for sadhakas, you know, for those like us trying to practice this path of bhakti. So every day in Puri, Mahaprabhu would go to the Tota Gopinath temple where Gadadhar was serving the deity there. And every day Mahaprabhu would hear the Srimad Bhagavatam from Gadadhar. And actually, it's said that even in Nadia, Gadadhar was speaking on the Bhagavatam. They would often ask him to speak on the Bhagavatam. So it seems that he was always doing this. But even, you know, it was something like kind of like, you know, officially every day Mahaprabhu would hear Bhagavatam from him. And so in Puri, Mahaprabhu is teaching us how to enter the eternal Leela. And as he progressed on his mission through Nam Sankirtan, going deeper into Radharani's love for Krishna, Gadadhar continued in his humble service to Tota Gopinath and in reading the Bhagavatam to Mahaprabhu. Our Guru Maharaj, he says that despite the diminished position of Gadādhara Pandit, he says that we can see it in like a Zen way, like in Zen, like less is more. So he says that we can see it like that. As Gadādhara, Radha, she's allowing Krishna to be all that he can be by giving him the essence of her loving mood. Since that was what he was lacking before, and thus he was unable to live up to his name of Rasaraj. He could not be like the king of all tastes because there was something that he did not have. So Radharani, in her generosity, she gave him that. And it may seem that she is less or diminished, but actually our Guru Maharaj says that actually that makes even more glorious in what she's done, because he couldn't have done it otherwise. So sometimes it seems like it's kind of heartbreaking to see the devotion that Gadādhara had for Gauranga, but yet so generous to have given what he did. And actually there's this very nice, one of the names of Lord Chaitanya is Gadādhara Prananath, that he is the Lord of Gadādhara's life. Actually, so this deity of Tota Gopinath that Gadādhara was worshipping, this is said to be when Mahaprabhu wrapped up his pastimes in this world. It's said that he disappeared, and he was seen to disappear in 3 different places, and one of those places it said that he disappeared into the Tota Gopinath deity, and actually even to this day there is still like a little golden mark on the body of the deity. I think it may be on his knee, where it's said that that's where Mahaprabhu entered. And interestingly, when Gadādhara ended his earthly pastimes and left this world, that it said that Gadādhara entered into the deity of Radharani, who is with Tota Gopinath. You can still see this deity there today in Jagannath Puri. You can go to the Tota Gopinath temple. And there's one very wonderful thing about this deity, which is very unusual, that you probably already know, is that he's not standing up. He's sitting down, and I think he's sitting cross-legged. And he wasn't always like that. He used to be standing, but it's quite sweet that actually after Mahaprabhu did leave this world, and because of the separation, Gadādhara Pandit, he aged very, very quickly, and his body became very frail, and it was very difficult for him to do things. Like he couldn't even read the Bhagavatam anymore without crying. He would cry so much that it said that the words on the page, the script, was washed away because of his tears. But because of his body was, like I say, quite frail, and he couldn't do so much. So when he would try to reach up to put the garland over Tota Gopinath's head, it was difficult for him. So the deity, Gopinath himself, he changed positions, and he sat down cross-legged to make it easier for Gadādhara to garland him. So it's so sweet. And yeah, so like I say, you can, if you, maybe some of you have already been to Jagannath Puri and seen him there. I don't know. I had the good fortune just once. I've been to Puri. That was in 2009, and got to go and see him there. And yeah, there are so many wonderful stories involving Gaura and Gadādhara. But I thought there's so much to say, but I'll try to keep it kind of fairly brief, just to try to get a kind of the gist or the idea of what our acharyas have given. But I have like a couple of quotes that I wanted to share with you, which I thought were very, really, really insightful. One of them is from our Guru Maharaj's sacred preface. Sorry, my camera really is doing that weird zooming in and out thing. Sorry about that. But one is from Sacred Preface, and there's a very nice paragraph where our Guru Maharaj, he kind of sort of summarizes Gadādhara Pandit, which I'll share with you. And then the other quote is a very, very beautiful verse, which is composed by Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj. So in, as I say, in summary, this is what our Srila Bhaktivedanta Tripurari Swami writes. So Radha initially tried to stop Krishna in his pursuit of her Mahabhav, concerned as to what her bhav might do to him, what the world would think of him, and what it would mean for her to be placed so prominently in the limelight. But Krishna, true to his nature, was determined to taste it at any cost. Thus she accompanied him in his pursuit to protect him should he lose himself in her love. Furthermore, she dispatched her dearmost friends, Lalita and Vishaka, Swarup and Ramananda, who are well acquainted with her bhav, to assist him further, when, as Gadādhara, she could no longer directly participate without hindering his pursuit. At that time, at the height of Gaura's triumph, she stood in his shadow as he basked in glory. So glorious is Gadādhara that his role, properly understood, diminishes the glory of Gaura, even while Gadādhara seeks no recognition at all and outwardly appears diminished in his own status as Radha, all but disappearing from the scene. The truth of the matter is that without Gadādhara, Gaura Krishna could not have been successful in his efforts to experience Radha's prem. Gaura's only hope for success rests in the outstretched hands of Gadādhara Pandit, who gives Gaura his entire self, while quietly disappearing into the background. Thus, Gadādhara is arguably the most important among all of Sri Chaitanya's associates. None can compare to him. Jaya Gaura Gadai. Save the best for last. So this is what our Guru Maharaj says. I just thought that summarizes it very, very, very nicely. And the other verse that I was going to read is, as I say, Sridhar Maharaj. He says, this is from an article that it's actually on the Harmonist. There's an article on the Harmonist on the appearance day of Gadādhara Pandit. So if you want to read the whole article, it's there. But Sridhar Maharaj, he says that once I was going to compile the very gist of the Bhagavatam. Bhaktivinoda Thakur has compiled 1,000 shlokas in his Bhagavat Arka Marichi Mala. I had in mind half of that, at least 300 shlokas to represent the whole Bhagavatam. I composed an introduction for that book, and this shloka is there. So this is a verse composed by Sridhar Maharaj, which glorifies Gadādhara Pandit, and was going to be part of the this introduction for summarizing the whole Bhagavatam. So this is the verse. Nilam bodhita te sada swaviraha kshepan vitam bandhavam Srimad Bhagavati Katha Madhiraya Sanjivayan Bhattiya Srimad Bhagavatam Sada Svanayana Shrupayanai Pujaya Goswami Pravaro Gadādhara Vibhur Bhuyat Madeka Gati. And the translation is, may Gadādhara Prabhu be my exclusive goal, the destination of my whole life. He is sent to engage in a particular duty on the shore of that infinite ocean. The infinite ocean is there, and just on the shore he is sitting, And what is he doing? What is his duty? Akshepanvitam bandhavam. He is giving consolation to his friend. And who is that friend? It is Mahaprabhu, who is madly searching for his own self. He is mad, akshepanvitam, in a very distressed condition. He is greatly afflicted with separation from his own self. Gadādhara is such a friend. He is giving some wine to give him relief from that pain. And what is that wine? That is Bhagavati Katha, the discourse of Srimad Bhagavatam of Krishna and Vrindavan. He is distributing, serving the wine of Bhagavat Katha to his friend who is suffering from the extreme pain of the separation from his own self. And then Sridhar Maharaj just gives a little explanation at the end. Such is severe separation, swa viraha. He is searching in separation from his own self, and it is so painful. He is afflicted, and to remove his affliction, Gadādhara is serving some wine, and that wine is coming from the discourse of the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Vrindavan story. Sanjeevayan bhattiya. He is enlivening his life, giving that wine of Krishna Katha. Srimad Bhagavatam sada swanayanashru payanai. Ashru means articles of worship. And what are the articles of worship of the Bhagavatam? His own tears. He is worshipping the Bhagavatam with his own tears. Goswami pravaro Gadādhar vibhur bhuyat. May I be blessed with the grace of Gadādhar Pandit, the master of the Bhagavatam, from whom Mahaprabhu listens to the Bhagavatam. I invoke his mercy. So thank you for your attention. And I wish that everybody gets the great, very sweet mercy of Sri Gadādhar Pandit on this most holy day of his appearance. And if anyone has any comments or questions or corrections, then please say now. And as I say, I felt like there was probably more that I could have said, but I think we'll stop here. But please share with anything that you'd like to. Does anybody have anything they'd like to say?
Haribol, I hope you can hear me.
Baby, yes.
Haribol. It's first of all, it's nice that we've just been reading in our study groups about the tragedy of separation, that chapter in the Golden Volcano of Divine Love. And also I've been reading Sacred Preface, but I haven't got to that part that you're actually quoting yet. So it's a nice incentive. So I'm going to look forward to that. But also this, I'm just wondering about this concept of the fact that Lord Chaitanya took the internal wealth from Gadādhara. Is that right? So it's taken from him, but I'm thinking that it's taken from him in order for Gadādhara to give it back, in a sense, to comfort him, when he's in that. So, but is that right that Gadādhara was born kind of on this earth or whatever with that internal wealth taken or from him in order for him to give it? I can't understand it, the concept of that. If he has all the internal wealth taken from him, how can he give him something, give Lord Chaitanya something back to him? But I think that's probably just the way that Radha Rani gives so much, I think. Is that right?
I think so, yeah.
Is that why Lord Chaitanya is gold? Is that why he is the color of gold? Because Radha already gave it to him. That's nice that it's confirmed that is why gold is his color. So,
yeah, I think
anyway, yeah. It's just trying to get inside my head logically. It's not logical, we can't do it logically, but if Gadādhara was born without something taken from him, how can he, what can he give back? But I think you did explain it in a way. It's just the nature of Radha, isn't it? That's what it is.
Yeah, I suppose so. And yeah, just thinking because it seems like you say, like he is born without that, like she's already given it. But then I guess then that's why then our teachers have explained about the difference between the Vama and the Dakshina. So he still has so much love, just like Rukmini has so much love for Krishna. There's no doubt about it, but it's just like a kind of slightly different in the sense of being completely submissive to it and not having that ability to oppose it in any way or to argue it or anything. But yeah, I suppose so. But yeah, like you said, there is also that element of her giving, even as Gadādhara giving the Bhagavatam, is helping him so much to mitigate his pain, like Sridhar was saying. Yeah, it's all quite inconceivable.
Mind blown. But anyway, thank you so much.
Thank you for being here. So yeah, I don't know if there's anything else. Otherwise, we can pray for the mercy of Gadādhara Pandit, sweet Gadādhara. One of my I always like to remember the I'd forgotten when I was planning this class, but there's always that wonderful story of how Gadādhara met his spiritual master Pundarik Vidyanidhi. I always really like that story. When Mukunda told him that there was a great Vaishnava and would he like to meet him, and at first Gadādhara couldn't quite understand, is this a great Vaishnava? Because he seemed very materialistic. But then Mukunda quotes that wonderful verse from the Bhagavatam, Ahobakiyam, I can't remember the Ahobakiyam Stana Kalakutam Jikam Shayaya Payat. Something Asadvi, I can't remember the whole verse, but it's the verse that how can I take shelter of anyone more merciful than Krishna, who gave the position of a mother to Putana, even though she was a she demon and was unfaithful, and they'd even put poison on her breast to try to kill him. And then when Pundarik Vidyanidhi heard that verse, then he just lost it, didn't he? He was just he was rolling around, ripping all his clothes, smashing everything. People couldn't even hold him down because he was experiencing so much ecstasy. And it said that he kept repeating the last line of that verse, isn't it? Kangva Dayalum. Oh, I can't remember it. Kangva Dayalum Sharanam Brajema. Like, how can I take shelter of one more merciful? How can I take shelter of one more merciful? And then Gadādhara obviously realized what a great personality he was. And then under the direction of Mahaprabhu, then he accepted him as a spiritual master. And it's so sweet because in Gaura Ganadesh Deepika, it said that Gadādhara is Radha, but then it's said that Pundarik Vidyanidhi is Vrishabhanu Maharaj. So it's so sweet that it's actually her dad. So yeah, thought I'd just get that story in there because it's so nice. But yeah, if there's nothing else, just thank you so much for being here and for your encouragement and your attention. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. And look forward to seeing all of you soon. Maybe on Sunday with Guru Maharaj on the call, hopefully. Jai. Hare Krishna, everybody. Thank you. Vanchakalpatarubhishcha kripasindhubhyo patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Anantakoti Vaishnavrinda ki jai. Hari Hari.
Mohini Dasi ki jai.
Vaishnav Sangha ki jai.